Megamaniacs, welcome back to the PC Engine Files, and I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan. Now, I know I promised in the first episode this would be obscure PC Engine and TurboGrafx games, and you're probably saying, Space Invaders is not that obscure, but there is a little bit of weirdness to this one. Now, if you start with Wikipedia, which is, of course, always only as reliable as the people who edit it, who may or may not be experts, they list two PC Engine slash TurboGrafx Space Invaders games. One called Fukatsu no Hi, which they list as a Hue card in 1990, and one they list as Space Invaders the original game as a Super CD-ROM in 1995, neither of which were released in North America. Now that would make it obscure for the United States, but not for the rest of the world. But hold up, it's not quite that simple, because then I move on to the more definitive pcengine.co.uk, and they too list two Space Invaders games. They list Space Invaders the original game for 1995, July 95 to be exact. They also list it as a Super CD-ROM, but what they are showing in the screenshots is not what I would call the original game. What I'm playing is what you would call the original game, because it looks like the Space Invaders that had the cellophane over the front where it was different bands of colors. So this would be like first or second generation Space Invaders from the late 1970s. And the screenshots they show on PC Engine COUK are not the original Space Invaders, but instead are backgrounds featuring anime girls, which was never in the original arcade game, and a head-to-head mode, which was also not part of the arcade game, and a cabinet select screen, which was also definitely not part of the original arcade game. So what they're calling the original game in 1995 is definitely not what I'm playing here. Also, I'm playing a Hue card, and this is a CD-ROM. So let's look at what they had to say about Fukatsu no Hi. This one says the updated version of the classic coin-op, and again, it has a different title screen from the game you see me playing here, and it has power-ups and shields and all sorts of different add-ons, including a cluster bomb weapon in one of the pictures that is definitely not accessible to me playing this version of Space Invaders. This to me seems to be a one-to-one port of the late 1970s or maybe early 80s Space Invaders arcade. Now, I will note that in the Space Invaders history, I talked about how they used the cellophane to create different color bands. They did later release a color monitor version that didn't have the cellophane bands, so this could be based on that version, the one that was actually displayed in colors instead of faking the color by having the light go through the transparent backgrounds. If you've used a Vectrix, it's sort of the same thing. You know, the overlays that you put on a Vectrix to get, quote, color graphics? Well, that was kind of the same idea with the original Space Invaders cabinets, but as they were more popular and as the franchise grew in strength and sales dominance, they did upgrade it to a full color version later on. I think that might have been called Space Invaders 2, technically, but definitely not what they're showing on what they're calling Fukatsu no Hi, which is not the original, just very pixelated, iconographic aliens. These are souped up aliens with 16-bit generation graphics and nothing to do with the original Space Invaders. So what is this that I'm actually playing? Because nothing seems to match up to it. The Wikipedia entries don't match it. The PC Engine COUK entries don't match it. It really seems to be a Hue card that doesn't exist. But this doesn't look like somebody's homebrew. This looks like an authentic Taito port of the original arcade game. So, I guess, Megamaniacs, I'm asking you to clarify this one for me. If you know any information, maybe somebody from the Saramaru crew or Saramaru himself might actually know. Does a one-to-one arcade port that's not a remake or an update of Space Invaders actually exist, or is this somebody's homebrew that they've just made so authentic that they actually put Taito's opening sequence and logo into and presented it in the original playfield with the original graphics and were that faithful to it just because? I don't, that doesn't really necessarily make a lot of sense to me, because if this was somebody's homebrew project and they gave all the credit to Taito and didn't even put one line in themselves, like, this game is not my own, but I coded it, so here you go, have it, enjoy it, I don't take any profit from it, but I released it because I'm a fan of Space Invaders. You know, you would think there'd be something in there like that. I'm thinking, and I can be proven wrong with this, there's no evidence to this, and that's why I'm asking for people to reach out and give me their comments, that there must have been like a budget title range for PC Engine and PC Duo and all those different related consoles, and it was never released here in North America, but in Japan at least, it was probably like a 500 yen or 1,000 yen game, like ports of arcade games and classic Japanese games, because you see that all the time. Like, PlayStation had their family-friendly titles that were always budget-priced, kind of like a greatest hits or a classics series, if you're familiar with those. Those are on a lot of different platforms. Like, I know Scott DeWaz did a video bitching about how they changed the cover art on a lot of those, but budget titles do give people a way to play games and not have to spend a whole lot of money to get new games when you can price them under $20. So is that what happened here? Is this like a budget title, a Hue Card budget release of some kind that nobody really knows about? If so, leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.